to receive the Minister, the Premier and the delegation. Thank you. Thank you very much for our beautiful choir, straight from the office of the Premier. Premier, Minister, and the MECs present here, the Executive Mayor, the Speaker of Soplaiki, councillors, and our broad family who are here with us today. Let me greet you by saying Dumelang, Goeiemorgen, good morning. We will start now our program. Premier, let me introduce myself. My name is Timakato Koloi. I'm the MEC responsible for safety, transport safety liaison in the Northern Cape. We will immediately start with our program Premier. We will now invite the choir, the office of the Premier, to give us the national anthem. We will ask everyone to stand so that we can receive the national anthem. Thank you very much. Great talent in the office of the Premier. our number 1 office. Thank you very much, choir. We will now go to our next point on our program, and this is the purpose of the event. And I will call upon the MEC for Social Development to come and give us why we are here today. Thank you very much, MEC. Alala, MEC Velakazi, alala!
Alala, Disability Month, alala! Eita, Disability Month, eita! Good morning, Program Director, our Minister, our Premier, the Executive of the Northern Cape, officials from different departments that are here, our stakeholders, and most importantly, our people living with disabilities. Our kids are also here. Good morning to everyone. Disability Rights Awareness Month 2025, under the theme, Creating Strategic Multisectoral Partnerships for a Disability Inclusive Society. Minister, Premier, colleagues and partners, today we gather to reaffirm a simple but powerful truth that a truly just and inclusive society recognizes the dignity, potential, and contribution of persons with disabilities. This year's theme calls us to action to strengthen partnership across government, civil society, and the private sector so that inclusion becomes a lived reality, not an aspiration. Our focus is on 4 key points. The first one, making public spaces, information, and services fully accessible. The second one, expanding economic opportunities and skills development. The third one, providing community-based support for families and children with disabilities. And the last one, changing mindsets to celebrate ability, not disability. Through partnerships like the one with the Japan International Cooperation Agency, which we call the JICA, we are empowering parents of children with disabilities, promoting care, dignity, and independence. This month reminds us that inclusion is not an act of charity, but a matter of human rights and social justice. Let us continue to build a Northern Cape and a South Africa where everyone, regardless of ability, can participate and thrive. I thank you.
Alala, MEC Velakazi, alala! Thank you very much, MEC. Now we know why we are here. Our next speaker is the Executive Mayor of the Saul Municipality to come and welcome all of us here before we go into the business of the day. Thank you very much, Executive Mayor. Halala, Mayor, halala!
Thank you very much, MEC OSAS, MEC Transport Safety Liaison. Good morning to everybody. Firstly, good morning to the people of the Northern Cape, Saul, and all the other areas. Program Director, it's a privilege to be here. Let me welcome the Reverend, the Minister of Women, Youth, Persons with Disabilities, Honorable Sindisiwe, Chikunga, the Premier of the Northern Cape, Dr. Zamani, Saul, members of the Executive Cabinet in the Northern Cape Province, the Acting Speaker of Solplaiki, Councillor Ramutli, and all other councillors, leaders from organizations of persons with disabilities, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Goeiemorgen. It is my pleasure to welcome you all to the official launch of Disability Rights Awareness Month under the theme Creating Strategic Multisectoral Partnership for an Inclusive Society. This launch provides us with a vital opportunity to reflect on our collective responsibility as government, civil society and the private sector to build a society that truly leaves no one behind. And sorry, Premier, I'm not sure that I recognize the children on my right hand side. Remember, some of us are teachers by profession, we must recognize you. Yeah. As a sphere of government closest to the people, local government plays a critical role in ensuring that the rights of persons with disabilities are not just recognized, but realized in the practical and measurable ways. Our municipalities are the front lines of service delivery, where policies must be translated into lived experiences of accessibility, dignity, and empowerment. Honorable Premier and Honorable Minister, the White Paper on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities 2015 guides us in this mission. It calls on all spheres of government, including municipalities, to mainstream disability inclusion across planning, budgeting, infrastructure, and community development processes. Honorable Premier, it challenges us to move beyond awareness to create inclusive systems that enable participations, self-reliance, and equal access into opportunities. In line with the White Paper, Saul Municipality is committed to ensuring that disability inclusion is not an afterthought, but a core component of our Integrated Development Plan, the IDP, local economic development strategies, and public participation frameworks. Honorable Minister, this year's theme reminds us that inclusiveness cannot be achieved in isolation. It calls for strategic multisectoral partnership and enable government and unite government departments, organizations of persons with disabilities, private sector stakeholders, educational institutions, and community-based organizations. Through these partnerships, we can strengthen coordination, share expertise, and pool resources to make tangible processes and progress. Working together, we can design inclusive infrastructure, create accessible communication platforms, and expand opportunities for employment and skills development for persons with disabilities. Let us use this month not only to raise awareness, but to build momentum for implementation. Let us identify practical steps to eliminate barriers, physical, attitudes, institutional, that hinder full participation by persons with disabilities in all of our communities. An inclusive society is one where every citizen can contribute meaningfully and live with dignity. This is not just a developmental goal, it's a constitutional and moral imperative. Honorable Speaker, Honorable Premier, Honorable Minister, and Honorable MECs, as we officially launch Disability Rights Awareness Month today, I want to express my sincere appreciation to all our partners and stakeholders for their continued collaboration and contribution and commitment. Let this event serve as a reminder that when we work together across sectors, across communities, and across abilities, we build a society that is stronger, fairer, and more comprehensive and more compassionate. Together, through strategic multisectoral work in partnership, guided by the principles of the White Paper on the rights of persons with disabilities, we can transform our municipalities in a model of inclusiveness. A place where everyone belongs, everyone counts, participates, and thrives. Honorable Premier, Honorable Minister, and Honorable MECs, and all our honorable people of the Northern Cape and Saul, I thank you very much.
Allah Executive Mayor Bartlett for welcoming all of us here today. We are now free. We are now going to the messages of support, and our humble plea from the table is that we will allocate 10 minutes to each and every speaker who will come and convey the message of support. Only 10 minutes, it is our humble plea. So we will start our messages of support with Labour. We will call upon the CEO to come and deliver the message of support in behalf of the Department of Employment and Labour. Halala Labour, halala! Halala the Department, halala!
The Honorable Minister of Women, Youth, Persons with Disability, Ms. Sindisiwe Chikunga, the Honorable Premier of the Northern Cape, Dr. Zamani Saul, the MECs present, Head of Operation, Provincial Operations, traditional leaders, fellow colleagues, all protocol observed. The Department of Employment and Labour would like to extend its sincere gratitude to the Office of the Premier of Northern Cape for seeing it fit that this is the launch of the month of People with Disability Awareness be hosted by one of our factories under SEE here in Kimberley. The theme resonates with what we are doing, creating strategic multisectoral partnership for disability inclusive society. Just to contextualize, the SEE supported employment enterprises. This is the enterprise that reports, or the enterprise that falls under the Department of Labour. So we have 13 factories across the nation, and Kimberley is one of them. We employ just under 1,000 persons living with disabilities in our factories, and we employ just above 60 persons living with disabilities in this factory. What we do, we are involved in the manufacturing space. We manufacture hospital linen, we manufacture the hospital gowns, we manufacture quite a number of things from our textile workshop. We have a wood workshop where we manufacture office furniture, we manufacture home furniture, school desks, and others. And we have our steel workshop where we do manufacturing some of our steel products. We are contributing, we are involved, we are resonating with the theme of inclusivity. Ours is a noble cause. We employ persons with disabilities, and the work that they're doing is fantastic, it's marvelous. You should walk around and check the work that they're doing. So we are supporting this, we are fully behind this month. We're going to engage, we're going to make sure that we intensify our marketing drive to promote awareness of these factories. These factories have been existing for quite a number of years, but we realize that they remain unknown to majority of you. So you're going to see more of us running campaigns, promoting the awareness of these factories that employ persons with disabilities, that are involved in the production line, and we will be collaborating with the business sector, with the communities, with everyone. At the moment, the majority of our customers are organs of state, and we say we can do more We can collaborate with the business sector. We can collaborate with households to buy the furniture that we're producing. So I'm going to leave you with a quote that says, if not us, then who? If not now, then when? The time is now. Let's work together to support the creation of employment opportunities for persons living with disabilities. If you can support, we can expand. And if we can expand, we will make sure that we include them on all aspects that will be running from a business. Because I said ours is a noble one to create employment opportunities for people with disabilities. I thank you.
Thank you very much, CEO. Now you are in time. There's still a few minutes left. We will now go to our next message of support, and we will call to the stage SAPS to come and give us their message of support. Alala SAPS, alala! Alala SAPS, alala!
The Program Director, the Minister of the Department of Women, Youth and Persons with Disability, Mrs. Chikunga, the Premier of the Northern Cape, Honorable Zamani Saul, MECs present here, the Mayor of Francis Bart, the Speaker, heads of department, representatives from the different departments present here, dignitaries, all protocol observed. Brothers and sisters, I take this opportunity to greet you all in the wonderful name of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Amen. The Minister, the launch of Disability Rights Awareness Month is a very significant event that aims to promote inclusivity, equality, and accessibility of persons with disability in our workplace and society. As the South African Police Service in the Northern Cape, Premier, we fully support this initiative to create a strategic, multi-sectoral partnership for disability-inclusive society. May I bring to your attention that as the South African Police Service in this province, under the leadership of General Otola, the Provincial Commissioner, we have a specific unit within the Human Resource Management that specifically focuses on persons with disability, under the unit that is called Employee Health and Wellness. This unit on disability management promotes all members, promotes the rights and the needs of all persons with disability, and also create a supportive working environment, and also give resources to those persons living with disability. Through this disability desk, we procure assistive devices for persons with disability. We procure wheelchairs. And Premier, may I hasten to say that we were very excited to be part of this day in which we saw this factory that is creating some of those assistive devices. And we live here as SAPS with this in mind, that we need to recognize this company and to register them in our database to see how we can make use of them, this company. We also have what we call Wellness Strategic Forum, where the whole management of SAPS sit to look at the issue of accessibility in all our buildings for persons with disability. We also, Premier, have what we call the Disability Forum, in which all the management of SAPS sit, where we deal with the issue of employment of people with disability, looking specifically, Premier, at the issue of equity. We fully support, Premier, this launch of the multisectoral partnership that enhances inclusivity and equality for all. And we are saying, as we stand here, as members of the South African Police Service, hashtag disability rights. And we are saying, hashtag disability matters. Let us therefore go out through this month to support persons with disability in our workplace and in the society, and continue to create that inclusive and equal society for everyone. Let us allow everyone to be counted, regardless of their ability in our society. I thank you.
Halala SAPS, halala! Halala SAPS, halala! Thank you very much. Our next message of support is CGE, and we will now call to the podium the rep of CGE to come and give us a message of support. Thank you very much.
Halala disability, halala. Program Director, Honorable Premier Zamani Saul, Honorable Minister, Honorable Chikunga, MECs present, Executive Mayors, school learners, stakeholders and community at large, I greet you all. My name is Saul. I'm a provincial manager for Commission for Gender Equality in Northern Cape. The Commission for Gender Equality extends heartfelt greetings and unwavering support to all stakeholders gathered in observance of Disability Awareness Month in the Northern Cape Province. as a constitutional institution established under Chapter 9 of the Constitution of Republic of South Africa 1996. The Commission for Gender Equality is mandated to promote respect for and the protection, development and attainment of gender equality. Our work is grounded in the conviction that true equality and human dignity can only be achieved when every person, regardless of gender, disability, or circumstance, can participate fully and meaningfully in society. Disability Awareness Month provides an important opportunity to reflect on the progress made and the challenges that remain in realizing the rights of persons with disabilities. It reminds us that inclusion is not merely about access. It is about agency, visibility, and empowerment. The Commission for Gender Equality commends the Northern Cape Provincial Government and all partners involved in advancing strategic multisectoral partnership for disability inclusivity. This collaborative approach echoes the essence of constitutional democracy, where progress is achieved through collaboration between government, civil society, the private sector, and communities themselves. As we strengthen efforts to remove systemic barriers, we must remain especially attentive to the intersectional inequalities that impact women, girls, and gender diverse persons with disabilities, many of whom continue to experience compounded forms of exclusion, discrimination, and violence. As a collective, we need to strive to have persons with disabilities employed at all levels, not as office assistants and administrators. Equally, even management. The Commission will continue to monitor and advocate for policies and practices that promote gender-responsive disability inclusion, ensuring that no one is left behind. The Commission for Gender Equality stands ready to work alongside the people and leadership of the Northern Cape to advance the rights, dignity, and participation of persons with disabilities. Together, let us transform awareness into action and commitment into concrete change. Inclusion is not an act of charity, but a fulfillment of justice. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Tate Soli. We are going to our last messages of support, and we will now call the person who will represent the PSA to come and give us Alala Sistandi Alala Alala Sistandi Alala, our very own Sistandi of the Northern Cape.
Dumelang, dumelang, dumelang. Olweni, kuyedas. Ezelo kwata fongo. Now why are you not responding? Thank you, Program Director. My name is Sindisiwe Mfulo, the lady with the golden voice. You can hear me. I'm representing all organizations of people with disability. I come from the Organization of Disabled People South Africa and Disabled Women South Africa. I'm the Deputy Secretary General. Our organization is dealing with the rights of people with disability, irrespective of what kind of disability you are. Whether you are blind, you are deaf, mental, whatever, we deal with the rights of people with disability. As a representative of Disabled People's Organization, Program Director, Honorable Minister for Women, Youth and Persons with Disability, Honorable Premier of the Northern Cape, members of the Executive Council, heads of department, leaders of Disabled People's Organization, traditional and faith leaders, ladies and gentlemen, not forgetting children. I stand here today not only as a representative of Disabled People's Organization across the Northern Cape, but as part of a growing movement of South Africans who are determined to ensure that disability rights are not aspirational. They are lived, they are practical, and forcible. Meaning we cannot just talk disability for talking, we must enforce that. And this launch is not a merely ceremonial. For us, it is a measurement point. We are measuring if we are complying in terms of disability. It is a moment to reflect on progress, identify barriers, and strengthen partnership that brings a real change. You know, people will say they are partnering with organization of disabled people, but there is no real change. So we need real change. Today's theme is talking about creating strategic multisectoral partnership for a disability inclusive society. Now, the progress today. Over the past year, we have observed genuine signs of commitment by the Northern Cape provincial government in mainstreaming disability rights. In terms of policy and governance, the alignment of provincial programs to the white paper on the rights of persons with disability, it shows firm intent. The establishment and strengthening of disability focal points across department is a critical step. It's there. We don't say it's not there. At least they're trying. But, I'm talking but. I'll talk later about other things. Inclusion of disability consideration in IDPs, APPs, and provincial monitoring platform, though uneven, at least it has taken shape. I know which department is performing and those who are not performing. Reasonable accommodation. Departments have begun budgeting for reasonable accommodations needs. Assistive devices, alternative communication formats, support services are increasingly recognized as rights, not favors. At least they are recognizing now. No one is doing as a favor. We acknowledge departments that have developed internal guidelines to support compliance. In terms of universal access, accessibility audits have commenced in priority departments. New infrastructure projects and increasingly applying universal access standards as some refurbishment now includes ramps, lift rails, accessible ablution and facilities. Collaboration with Treasury to include accessibility in procurement processes is a positive development. They are trying it. At least we should recognize that. Health. Expansion of rehabilitation services and procurement of assistive devices. You know, we were talking about rehabilitation. People think that you go to physio and come back. Rehabilitation includes us, Tina, what we do. After you become disabled, we must go to your house as DPSA and cancel you, because it takes a thief to catch one. If you are going to bring a doctor and say the doctor will tell me about disability, I won't listen to that doctor. I'll only listen that he gives me tablets for pains. But reality, I'm telling myself to say you don't understand. But if you send a disabled person, the process is very fast. Education, support to special schools and enhanced resource provision, rollout of assistive technology device to some learners, expand training for teachers on inclusive education. Meaning, as much as they are trying, we want to see in the curriculum to become a teacher, disability should be part of the subject, to add on that. Transport and public works, inclusion of disability-friendly design in some transport upgrades and new provincial buildings, development of access norms for public infrastructure. As much as that, when they do that, can they include us so that we can guide? We will talk about those things, especially in the normal taxi area. They must, as much as they support buses, they must start to support taxis so that 2 chairs at the back can be out and government can start to support those taxis. So that when I come in my taxi, they don't leave me on the stop. They leave me at the stop because they don't want to pick me and my wheelchair. Human settlement, we're talking about growing recognition of accessible housing in the RTP houses, adjustment for household where a person with disability is present. But we also want to add that already when you do a plan, can that plan include disability? Your building plan, I'm a builder. I've been building at Jacksonville there. There's not a similar house that I saw. But because they are trying, let's move and make sure that that house is not 42 square meters or 40. At least it's 60 for me to move around with my wheelchair. Social development, continued support for protective workshops and NPO services center, expanded psychosocial and community support program. Because there's a lot. Agriculture, economic development and tourism, beginning steps to include persons with disability in economic empowerment programs. SMME development and agricultural support pathways. Rural development, strengthening of outreach programs to rural and remote communities. Early engagement on mapping disability support resources per district, because our province is very vast. We acknowledge that they've been trying and they are moving into what they are trying to do. But we are not yet there. Honorable Premier and Minister, we appreciate that what has been done. But appreciation must sit along accountability. They must go together. Reasonable accommodation framework and universal access policy are not guidelines. They are obligations. I'm talking to officials of government now. When you speak to them, they will tell you about the guidelines. This is obligation, no guidelines. Implementation must be consistent, monitored, funded, and reported. We don't want to come in an area, today we are sitting here premier, tomorrow there's another activity for youth or women, and you are nowhere to be seen. It should be inclusive. We've got challenges in the institutions. We lack disability focal often lacks seniority, authority, or budget. You find that there's a focal person in the department, but they don't have a budget. So what are you doing? So we need to elevate focal points, and we need to enforce reporting. You know, sometimes when I go to the department, I get general, I come like cripple, oh my last time. Because I'll be asking questions, want to understand what's happening. Budgeting and resource allocation. Often, programs of disability are unfunded or underfunded. And often people confuse that only the Premier's office must deal with disability. That role is for them to monitor what are you doing as the department. It's not to allocate budget. Each department must allocate its own budget and the resources. So it means each department must have a dedicated budget for reasonable accommodation, universal access. And then Treasury must reinforce disability inclusive budget. It means Department of Treasury, when the budget comes in, check disability, is it there, include it, force it. Accessibility and built environment, schools, clinics, transport, they still remain inaccessible. Meaning, when you say schools, I want to go to a school that is next door my house. Now you go to a school next door your house, it's not accessible. You go to a normal school, there's no sign language interpreter. Now you call it special schools. Special schools are for those with multiple disability. You cannot walk, you cannot speak. You know, that is a special school. Now we want a normal school so that children can get used to us. And then, as assistive devices, there's a lot of delays. The repairs are backlogs. There's a lady there, she fell with her crutches. Her legs is broken. I'm surprised when I see her today. Because her caliper, since she had it 10 years back, she's still struggling to get a new one. Can we improve on that? Or please hire people with disability to do that, we will do it. And then employment and skills development. We need inclusions in public sector employment and youth programs and women programs. Internship and learnership. They are good, again they are bad. Because for years you go learnership, this one of bank sitter, the other one local government sitter. You are never employed. Country, when are we going to get qualified? And then in the workplace, reasonable accommodation is a compliance requirement. And then also, can we train people with disability to repair assistive devices? Because it's happening in other provinces. I know Mpumalanga, I know KZN. Assistive devices there are done by disabled people. Program director, I'm finishing. And then my closing remark, to every person with disability in the Northern Cape, to every parent, caregiver, advocate, service provider and others, your voice matters. Your dignity is non-negotiable. We see you, we honor you, we will not leave you behind. And then this month, ignite a year-long movement towards true equality, access, and opportunity. But also, Premier, we want to have a dialogue. Women versus women. And it is gender-based violence this month. It includes gender-based. Now we want to, as women with disability, we want to have a dialogue with women who say they don't have disability. Because from our experience, they are the worst perpetrators. I'll make an example. When we are sitting, lipstick. Now, when we are sitting, all of us with lipstick, then there comes a hunk, a beautiful guy. Immediately when I smile, but you are but when you smile, you are flirting. What's the difference, women? And the next minute, I'm a daughter-in-law, boyfriend. Then my mother-in-law, who said I want this cripple? I don't want a cripple in my house. I want someone who can clean for me and everything. Who said I cannot clean and cook? And who's saying that? It's a woman. To a boy child. So what are they saying? As women with disability, there's more gender-based violence, more than any other woman. I thank you.
Hello. Thank you very much, Sis Thandi. Honorable Premier, Honorable Ministers, and our broad family who are here today, as we launch DRAM 2025 in the Northern Cape, it is my honor now to call upon the Premier of the Northern Cape to come and give us his opening remarks and also introduce and welcome the Minister. Thank you, Premier.
Goeiemôre almal. Ons is heel wat bly om hier te wees. Laat ek begin om die programdirekteur baie dankie te sê vir die geleentheid. En laat ek ook die geleentheid gebruik om ons minister van vroue, jong mense and people living with disabilities te groet. Kan ek die minister vra om so op te beweeg dat ons vir haar 'n lekker Noord-Kaap klap gee. Baie dankie. Ons waardeer dit altyd as groot leiers van die land hier is in die Noord-Kaap om te kom luister wat ons uitdagings is. Ons klomp uitdagings. En as hulle hier is, dan ons heel wat opgewonde. Ek sien sy kon nie Afrikaans mooi verstaan nie, maar ek sal 'n tyd vat om van Afrikaans te leer. Dis mos ons taal in die Noord-Kaap, want dit is so nie. Nou, ons praat Afrikaans hier. Maar ons is baie dankbaar, Minister, dat u hier is. We are very grateful that you are here. And I was just telling them that we've got so many challenges. And we really appreciate it when national leaders come down, sit with us, listen to our challenges, and work to assist us to address those challenges. So thank you very much. Let me also greet the leaders van die provinciale uitvoerende komitee wat hier is. Ek sien daar's iets soos 1, 2, 3, 4 van hulle. 4 LERs wat ons hier het. 5 LERs wat hier is. Kan ons vir hulle almal vra om so op te beweeg, laat ons vir hulle wat 'n lekker aanslag gee. So, dit beteken die LERs van die dag baie belangrik. Dis hulle van die dag baie ernstig. Dis 'n baie belangrike dag wat ons hier is. En dan het ons die burgemeester van Saul munisipaliteit, ons burgemeester, sy het ons die verwelkoming gedoen en toe moes sy vinnig uitbeweeg, sy sal weer terugkom. En ons het 2 ordentlike raadslede van Saul munisipaliteit wat hier is. Kan ons raadslede ook vra om op te beweeg, al die raadslede van Saul munisipaliteit. Vra om op te beweeg, dat ons vir die lekker aan het laat doen. En dan het heel wat uitgevat. Ja, mooi soet, mooi dansen. En dan moet ook ons dorp mooi houden, dat is zo. Nee, die boodschap is duidelijk. Jullie lijkt mooi uitgevat. Ik heb amper gedenkt van hulle trouw van haar. Ik vraag dat ik nou een trouwen is. Ik vraag dat ik een trouwen is. Nee. Dat is heel trouwen niet, maar ons is baie dankbaar dat hulle hier is. Dat betekent die raadslede gee om en waardeer u hulle se teenwoordigheid. En laat ek ook die Sindisiwe groet of the disabled peoples of South Africa. Sindisiwe has been doing this work for years. If you want somebody that she's been fighting with for years, dis ek. Elke keer as ons ontmoet, as 'n bekleer. Nee, en sê, ek het altyd gesê, die vrou met 'n groot mond, van sy het vir jou nou regtig 'n groot mond. Elke keer wat ons ontmoet, sy baklei for people who are living with disabilities. Can we give Sister a nice round of applause? En Sisti, ons waardeer jou werk. En ons hoop in die volgende paar jaren, you must be able to witness the fruits of your work. Maar ons is baie dankbaar for the persistence and fights that you put on to ensure that nobody forgets of the plight and challenges confronted by people living with disabilities. Thank you very much. We highly appreciate that. En ons het ook hier vandag twee van onze konings van die Noord-Kaap. Hulle kom van John Taulogaitsiwe region. John Taulogaitsiwe region is mos Kuruman se plek. Julle ken hulle mos. Yeah, we've got Hosi Tumo Kyanji is also here. And Hosi Pako Molima is also here. We've got two kings which are here. Okay, can we give them a nice round of applause? And when our leader starts to have interest in this, then we get excited. We are one province in the country which has got a good working relationship with traditional leaders. Everywhere we go, when I meet with other premiers van other provinces, hulle kla altyd onze traditionele leiers, hulle gee ons gas. Ons kan nie rus nie en al die type goede. Maar in die Noord-Kaap, onze traditionele leiers, ons werk saam met hulle, om seker te maak dat daar ontwikkeling wat plaasvind in hulle se gemeenskappe. So baie dankie Gossie, ons waardeer dat u hier is. Ons weet het het tyd gevat om tot hier te kom, but we highly appreciate your presence and we are very thankful for that. I'm told also we've got Hosanna Sesinyi is not here. Okay. Let me also greet the CEO of the SEE, Tate Kadimi Umokai. Yeah, there he is. The CEO is doing quite a good job with all the challenges which are here in this SEE, and we highly appreciate your role in holding the fort under very difficult circumstances. And we also have senior government officials that are here which are led by the DDG. Dat ek die gemeenskap nou van Kimberley groet en geef vir julle self 'n leuke hande. Ek sien die skoolkinders hier. Sal hulle dan nie vir ons sing nie? Hulle moet vir ons volgende keer sing, maar dat ons ook vir ons as skoolkinders 'n lekker hande klap gee, dat hulle hier is. Dis nie vir my om baie te sê nie vandag. De minister is hier, minister Chikunga, en ek is seker ons almal ken haar. She's got a long history in fighting for the liberation of the people of this country. Sy baie poste bekleed in the national government. So sy is hier vandag om saam met ons te praat. And particularly those who are affected by any form of disability. And we highly appreciate the fact that the minister is here. But with the engagements that we had this morning, ons het gepraat saam met die CEO, ons het gepraat saam met die mense wat hier werk. Hulle sê, die plek het groot potentiaal. Soos ek die plek so kyk, die SEE. Ons kan die plek verander om ander China te wees, hier in Kimberley. Dat is groot potentiaal hier. Die plek kan maar net aan ander China wees, hier in die Noord-Kaap. So ek het saam met die LER van onderwys gepraat. Hy sê vir my, volgende jaar Januarie maand, sal hulle 5000 desks benodig. So ek praat nou as die premier nou. Ek sê vir die executive CEO, start producing those 5,000 desks that we are going to need in January. In January, when we open schools, we'll need about 5,000 desks. 5,000 per region. So it must face 3 in the province. So there's 1,000 per streek. So hulle moet nou begin alweer om seker te maak dat Jana Arimaat hulle is gereed. Ons het hulle kan hulle nou skool toestuur. En daai sal vir julle leerder besig geword, dit is so nie. Maar ander ding, ek is nog saam met 5 LER's hier. 5. Toe ons die plek rond gekyk en gesien wat hier plaasvind, het ons 'n besluit geneem dat in die volgende 3 jaar sal ons 'n procurement maak. Weet julle wat is 'n procurement? Procurement is om te koop. Ja, sal ons goede koop hier en ons sal seker maak dat goede hier gemaak word van 'n waarde van 120 miljoen rand. So ons wil hê as ons in ons hospitale aankom, linens van ons hospitale moet hier gedoen word. Ons wil hê as ons in ons hospitale aankom, die uniform van die nurse en die skoonmaakster daar by die hospitale, hulle moet hier gedoen word. Nee, vir die hele Noordkap. Ons koop hulle nergens nie. Hulle moet hier gemaak word. En ook by ons skole, deske en al die type goede, wat ons skole sal benodig, rake wat ons sal benodig in ons kantore, hulle moet hier gemaak word. Nee. En om seker te maak dat dit sal gebeur, ons het geagree, ons sal 'n takspan opsit. Die takspan sal deur 2 LER's gelei word. Dis LER Makatom en LER Vilakazi. LER Vilakazi is die LER wat werk met mense with disabilities. And LER Makatom is the LER who's responsible for roads and public works. Dat hulle altyd net so opbeweeg, so die takspan, die 2 sterk vroumense sal die takspan leid. Nee, baie dankie LER, hulle sal die takspan leid. En gedurende die week, hulle sal al die hoofde van procurement in die verskillende departemente inroep. Almal van hulle, en saam met hulle sit en sê, dis die wat ons wil achieve. En ons het ook geagree nog, dat elke maand, 1 keer 'n maand sal ons sit, saam met die uitvoerende beheersraad van die SEC, dat ons kyk hoe ver is ons met die implementering van die besluit. Ons verwag ook Saul plaatjie om hier te koop. Dis in julle munisipaliteite, dit is so nie. Ons sal ook ander munisipaliteite ook aanroep. Laat hulle saam met ons werk, laat ons seker maak dat die plek, soos die Chief Executive Officer gesê het, hier werk deze mense. Ons kan seker maak dat in die volgende 2 jaar, ons sit hier met 3000 mense, wat hier werk op en af, die plek is heel besig. Dis net mense wat die werk. So, dit wat ons sal doen en ons sal begin werk op dit. Elke maand sal ons saam met die uitvoerende leiders praat van die plek. We are going to have monthly meetings with the Chief Executive Officer and his team to look at the extent to which we've managed to implement this decision. So we are going to keep this place busy. Because I just asked one of the people, how much does it cost to produce a desk here? The amount he gave me, I got shocked. Because we are buying this desk for about 1,600, 1,700. How the desks which they produce here, which are very strong desks, are far cheaper than that. So we must exploit this opportunity and make this project a success. And the samen met die 5 LER's wat hier is, ons sal ook met onze collega's praat, ons sal die plek beter maak. As u hulle volgende jaar December maand hier kom, or November hier kom, you'll see a different place because of the kind of support and injections that we are going to give you. Met die woorde, dat ek ons minister tevore roep, dat sy saam met ons kom praat. Kan ons allemaal net opbeweeg en vir die minister lekker aan het klap gee asseblief.
Baie dankie, Premier Saul. Ek kan praat net 'n bietjie Afrikaans. Thank you very much, Program Director. Let me recognize yourself, Dr. Zamani Saul, Premier of the Northern Cape, Honorable Notobeko Vilakazi, Member of the Executive Council for Social Development, as well as who is also responsible for issues of women, youth and persons with disabilities. The only province that has an MEC who has this responsibility, and we appreciate that. Her Worship Council, other MECs that are here with us, Her Worship Councillor Barbara Ballet, Executive Mayor of Saul Plaatje Local Municipality, honorable members of the Provincial Legislature, Chief Director Putima Belebele from the Department of Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities, all national and provincial senior managers and officials that are present. We also have senior officials from SAPS, management and staff of the Supported Employment Enterprise SEE factory in Kimberley, led by the CEO, Mr. Gadi Meng, representatives of organizations of persons with disabilities, in particular led by Sis Tandi, who gave us a message of support here today, leaders from civil society, business, labor, academia, traditional and religious leadership, members of the media, and most importantly, I want to recognize learners who are coming from our special schools here in the Northern Cape. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Sanbonani, Goeiemorgen. Thank you very much. On behalf of the department, Northern Cape forward with disability inclusion, forward. On behalf of the Department of Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities, I wish to thank each of you for joining us in celebrating the launch of the 2025 Disability Rights Awareness Month. We express our sincere gratitude to the management and staff of the Supported Employment Enterprise Factory in Kimberley for hosting us. This is a fitting place to launch DRAM 2025 under the theme Celebrating 30 Years of Democracy, Creating Strategic Multisectoral Partnership for a Disability-Inclusive Society. The SEE Factory stands as a living proof that inclusion is possible, where persons with disabilities are not spectators in the economy, but skilled workers, producers, and innovators. Your factory represents what is possible when the state, the private sector, academia, civil society work together to transform ability into opportunity and opportunity into dignity. Our theme is not chosen lightly. It draws its inspiration and agency from our constitution, our legislations, and the foundational instruments of the International Disability Rights Movement, most notably the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, as well as the G7 Solvagnon Chapter and Charter. The emphasis on strategic multisectoral partnerships in this year's theme reflects our understanding that transformation of this magnitude cannot be achieved by government alone, nor by a single sector acting in isolation. Our theme is also grounded in consultative leadership, because when building a truly disability-inclusive society, we have no choice but to meaningfully involve, closely consult with, and act upon the insights and recommendations of persons with disabilities, their families, caregivers, and the OPDs that represent them at every stage of decision-making. In other words, there are no shortcuts to disability-inclusive society. We have to be this through and thorough, because we are not talking about a small section of society. According to the World Health Organization, persons living with disabilities make up 16% of global population, equivalent to 1 in 6 of us. Our task this month is therefore practical. It is to heighten and elevate disability inclusion in all spheres of life. Consistent with the Self-Known Charter, we are here to reaffirm our unwavering commitment to guarantee universal access and accessibility, to promote independent living, support inclusive education, advance decent employment, as well as decent working conditions, ensure adaptable community-based services, and harness accessible, inclusive new technologies for empowerment and participation. This is to understand that when we do this together, we will actually be upholding the rights of persons with disabilities. We urgently need a radical shift in perspective, one that removes societal barriers and places persons with disabilities at the center of inclusive policy and practice. Our goal is not to institutionalize dependency, but to foster autonomy, independence, and the full development of each individual's talent and aspirations. Recent events have reminded us why this work cannot wait. Just a few days ago, learners at Ifata School for the Blind and Deaf in Imtata protested over inadequate support, a painful reminder that access to quality inclusive education remains uneven. What happened in the social media? They were ridiculed as if the right to protest excluded them. Our research on the state of special schools, backed by the research by the AG, that is Auditor General, confirms that the Ifata learners were complaining about. So it cannot be correct that when our persons with disability exercise their right to protest, then they are ridiculed by us. Because as South Africa, we are not an ableist community. We recognize persons with disabilities. So yes, this launch therefore is more than a ceremony. During this DRAM, we'll compel everyone to answer uncomfortable questions. Are our policies translating into lived realities for persons with disabilities? Are resources reaching those who need them most? Are partnerships delivering measurable outcomes or merely good intentions? Program Director, the ongoing exclusion of persons with disabilities from economic life reproduces lifelong disparities. When unemployment among persons with disabilities exceeds 80% in some regions, we are not seeing the natural working of our economy, we are seeing deliberate structural abandonment. As we all know, the socio-economic exclusion of persons with disabilities is reproduced in the classroom long before it appears in unemployment statistics. As I shared with South African National Association of Special Education, the greatest barriers do not reside in learners' bodies or minds, but in the environments we create for them. Too many schools still operate in buildings never designed for accessibility. When a child cannot enter a classroom with dignity, inclusion has already failed before learning begins. Resources, especially assistive devices, remain scarce, and many teachers have not been adequately prepared for inclusive classrooms. Technology promises personalization, yet without equitable access to devices, connectivity, and skills to use them. Innovations risk widening rather than closing the gap. Participation by children with disabilities still lags behind that of their peers, with only modest improvement in recent years. Educational inclusion is not about fixing, and it's not about fixing the learner to fit the system, but it is about fixing the system to embrace every learner. This pattern echoes in the labor market. Despite comprising a meaningful share of our population, persons with disabilities are still accounting for about 1.2% of reported employees in the public service. In the private sector, they are accounting for 1.3%. That is far below the 4% employment equity benchmark and the 7% of the National Development Plan, which is the goal by 2030. I'm saying public service, Comrade Premier, and MECs that are here, we are supposed to be at 4% this year because Cabinet took a decision that because the National Development Plan expect us to be at 4% when it comes to employment of persons with disabilities, and will therefore be increasing this by 1% year on year until we're at 7% by 2030. This year, therefore, the target for employment is not 2%, it's not 3%. That was for 2024-25. 2025-26, we are at 4%. And the public service is only at 1.2%. This is because some departments are even below 1%. So what we are saying here as a department, Premier, invite your MECs and heads of departments to explain to you as to where they are in terms of employment of persons with disabilities. They are supposed to be at 4%. Our department is at 5.6%. The Department of Trade and Industry at national level is at 4.6%. The Department of Tourism is at 4.2%. And the Department of Small Businesses is at 3.98%. The rest of other departments are below 3%. Provinces are not doing that well, and therefore we are asking departments and provinces to meet the 4% target as agreed upon by Cabinet. What we have done as the department, we have actually consulted the Department of Public Service and Administration, but maybe let me continue with my speech. Program Director, the work before us is not an act of goodwill, it is an obligation of state. Our constitution, our laws, and cabinet decisions compel us to build a country where persons with disabilities participate fully in every sphere of life. South Africa's constitution affirms human dignity, equality, and freedom as the foundation of our democracy. Section 9 of the Constitution prohibits unfair discrimination on the grounds of disability, and Section 29 guarantees the right to basic education. Our policy architecture, led by our white paper on the rights of persons with disabilities, translates these values into standards for universal design, reasonable accommodation, and accountability. And I invite departments and heads of departments to go and read this policy it has got 9 priorities, and it has got, these must be met by departments. It is important, and we are expected as the department to report to Cabinet every year on how we are implementing these priorities. And we are not receiving cooperation that we are in need of from departments. We expect to compile a report, and we're also expected to report to the United Nations on how we are implementing the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. We're only able to do that if provinces and departments give us information on where we are as a country. We submitted our report this year. We are still expecting United Nations to invite us to come and explain and account for each response that we gave. And if provinces have not provided us with information, we will go there, not being able to account for everything that we submitted to them. Together, of course, together with the National Development Plan and the National Strategic Plan on Gender-Based Violence and Femicide, we recognize that exclusion is not a social inconvenience, it is a violation of rights. So, Program Director, allow me to reiterate that according to the last employment equity data, persons with disabilities make up only 1.2% of reported employees in the public service and 1.3% in the private sector. So the private sector this time around is ahead of the public service, even if at a minimum of 1.3%. And we are far below the 4% of national benchmark. Our cabinet has therefore called for every department to recruit and plan deliberately towards this target. To enforce the 4%, we as the department have approached the Minister of Public Service and Administration to issue a ministerial order to all departments in order to compel them to employ persons with disabilities until we reach the 4% target. So when you apply, when you want to recruit, provinces will now have to apply to DPSA. And DPSA is going to say, you can only appoint persons with disabilities. This message is simply, we are saying therefore to persons with disabilities, you probably will not be employed because of your disability only, but you must have qualifications and you must apply. Government needs your skills in administration, policy, technology, and leadership. So the departments, the directives from the Department of Public Service is coming, the order is coming to you. And we expect that even before that order is with you, you employ persons with disabilities. Cabinet has further directed that every board of a public entity must include at least one person with a disability. So we are actually moving beyond tokenism. This also must apply to our provinces. And therefore, persons with disabilities, when they see adverts for board employment or appointment, please apply. But what we are saying at national level is that when they bring a board without a person with disability, we send it back. And we say, get a person with disability, even if it means head hunting. But we want to encourage persons with disabilities to please apply. Look at the requirements, because it will not just be the disability only, but there will also be requirements in terms of legislations that are actually guiding the appointment, in fact, the appointment of their boards. Also, government has reformed procurement to open economic space for historically excluded groups. The Public Procurement Act provides set-asides for categories such as women, youth, and persons with disabilities. for a minimum of 7% of public sector procurement is being directed towards enterprises led by persons with disabilities. Importantly, these categories are cumulative. For instance, a young woman with a disability will qualify to compete among themselves for the 7%, but also will qualify to compete as a woman for 40% and as a young person for 30%. This ensures intersectional in practice and intersectionality in practice, not just in policy. We urge persons with disabilities to register as suppliers, to tender for work, and to see themselves as active participants in rebuilding economy. When I visited the SEE factory in Pretoria, I was encouraged to see that government operates such an institution. And here we are today, we are seeing another one here in the Northern Cape. Cabinet and HODs, what the Premier was saying here, I imagine that some of you were saying, but how is it possible with the PFMA being in front of us? Now, Cabinet has since agreed and resolved that SEE factories need not undergo the full tender process requirements for the PFMA. And therefore, these factories are exempted from procurement requirements. And this is done in terms of the PFMA itself. So, if you want linen for hospitals in the Northern Cape and even other parts of South Africa, you can now walk to this institution and place your order without quotations. That is done in terms of the PFMA. This simplification will sustain production lines, preserve jobs for persons with disabilities, and reduce costs to the state. As the Premier is saying, we pay a lot for some of the equipment and the furniture that we are buying, the linen and the sheet and everything else. Here, you will pay much less and therefore get more. And therefore, we are going to support, we are told that if government departments can support these institutions, they will be able to employ more than 3,000 persons with disabilities. Program director, program means little if it does not change lives. The real test of government is whether inclusive and inclusion moves from paper to practice. Whether every school, business, and public entity becomes part of the machinery that advances the rights of persons with disabilities. Distinguished guests, a society that is inclusive is a society where persons with disabilities move freely through our cities on public transport, designed with them from the start. Where buildings welcome everyone through their doors, and where every digital platform from government services to banking apps works seamlessly for all South Africans, regardless of ability. It is therefore clear that disability rights cut across education, employment, transport, infrastructure, communications, justice, and social protection. No single department can deliver inclusive alone and inclusion alone. We need coordinated implementation and shared accountability across government, business, and civil society. Thus, we must have partnerships that shape power and decision-making. The Department of Transport, for example, must work with taxi associations, metro rail, and even the aviation quadriplegic association of South Africa to co-design truly accessible commuter system for our cities. We must also strengthen the pipeline connecting schools, TVET colleges, CETAs and SEE factories, so that education leads directly to employment. Public procurement must create market demand for every skills our young people with disabilities are learning. We call upon business, organized labor, universities or tertiary institutions, organizations of persons with disabilities to join government in research, training and enterprise development. Inclusion succeeds only when it becomes everyone's business, when every plan and budget expands access and opportunity. Program Director, this is how we move from policy to practice, by building partnerships that deliver dignity, independence, and measurable change. This is nothing about us without us. Transformed from slogans into standard practice. Program Director, inclusion must be visible in what we fund, what we build, and what we buy. These are catalyst and catalytic steps we are taking. For instance, in 2024, the National Skills Fund launched a 1 billion disability support fund to provide specialized workplace training, capacity building, procurement support, and enterprise development for persons with disabilities, enhancing employment prospects and economic inclusion across all provinces. We are working together with the Department of Higher Education and Training to finalize a sustainable model for implementing this noble commitment to the disability community. But also, definitely, we will want to include the organization of disability so that what becomes the outcome is what is acceptable and is able to address the problems that they're facing. One of my passion projects is a legacy initiative that seeks to pair every special school with a state-owned enterprises capable of supporting both the educational and infrastructure needs of our schools. As part of this effort, we hope to bring together the CEOs of our state-owned enterprises, sector education and training authorities, and industry associations to commit a percentage of their social investment budgets towards turning around the state of special schools and improving the prospects of our youth living with disabilities. In South Africa, we have about 453 special schools, and we have more than 700 state-owned companies. And most of them, they are as big as PRASA, as Sanral, as AXA, etc. And therefore, these state-owned companies has huge CSI budget. And we are saying, not over 1 year, they can adopt one school and improve that school. In line with our National Strategic Plan on Gender-Based Violence and Femicide, we will continue to intensify our efforts to eradicate this scourge, which remains twice as high among women with disabilities. And just this past weekend, we welcomed the announcement by the Minister of Women in the United Kingdom that the United Kingdom, that is UK, will contribute an additional 18 million to support our anti-gender-based violence initiative through the Gender-Based Violence and Femicide Response Fund. Let's thank you. They are already funding us with about 30-something million rand. And the minister, after visiting some of our institutions, came back to announce that they are now going to add 18 million. And they said this, they are going to sustain it. And indeed, we believe that this is a significant portion, and these resources will also assist to deal with gender-based violence that is affecting women with disabilities. Also, Just last week, we hosted South Africa's G20 Empowerment of Women Working Group Ministerial, where we reaffirmed that empowerment of women must be intersectional. It cannot exclude persons with disabilities and women with disabilities. South Africa has therefore proposed the establishment of a disability inclusion initiative that should lead to a working group. Comrade Premier, we had a bilateral meeting with the president of the International Disability Alliance. And he said to me, Minister, we invited you to Italy last year to attend the G20 conference. And we did that for one and one purpose, to, as South Africa, establish Disability Inclusion Working Group. And where are you in as far as that issue is concerned? And we said to him, we came back to South Africa, we said, as India did with the Empowerment of Women Working Group, we can, because we're a bit late when you lobbied us to do that, we can establish or even champion the Disability Inclusion Initiative, so that the next country that will take over from us will then run with Disability Inclusion Working Group. And that is where we are. Even with the Women Empowerment Working Group, India did the same. In 2023, they championed a Women Empowerment Initiative. And Brazil then took over and ran with the working group, and South Africa continued. And that is what we are doing. We therefore have the support of international countries. We had the technical meeting in South Africa for Disability Inclusion Initiative, and we are ready to ensure that that gets included in the leadership declaration. We are hoping that US will probably run with it. If it does not, UK in 2027 is ready to run with Disability Working Group. As the legacy project of our G20 Women Empowerment Working Group, we want to establish the Disability Inclusion Nerve Center, a national coordination and innovation hub to turn commitments into delivery. And I want us to remember that we have this as our legacy project, even if we are this year actually championing the Empowerment of Women Working Group. But close to our heart and my heart is to have a nerve center for disability inclusion. This is going to help us a great deal because it's going to host a disability data observatory to harmonize data on education, employment, gender-based violence and femicide, and service delivery. Italy has committed, TEHA in Italy has committed to assist us to establish this nerve center. And of course, I'm happy to share that on the sidelines of the G20 Empowerment Working Group Ministerial meeting that sat just during this last weekend, during our bilateral engagement with the All China Women's Federation President or Deputy President, she then committed to contribute 2.5 million rand towards the establishment of the nerve center. So now, the establishment of this nerve center is no longer something that we speak about. We have quite a number of private sectors in the country that have interest to contribute towards the development of the nerve center. Our take, Comrade Premier, is that we have no idea in South Africa as to how many children or babies are born with disability. So our response is reactive, because when a child is born with disability in our hospitals, if there is any information that gets captured, it only gets reported in the road to health chart of a child, and the mother takes it home, and nobody will know about it until the child goes to the ECD or to a crèche. Only when a person or a teacher there is very aware and conscious that we can get to know what, and therefore everything that we do is reactive. We can't plan for disability from birth. And with technology today, it is possible to diagnose disability even before birth. That we are able to plan for a child with disability from before birth and at the latest at birth. And that is what we want to do, working together with the Department of Health and of course being supported. We also have recently, we're also working with the South African Law Reform Commission towards an overarching disability law that domesticates the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities and our own white paper. Recently, ladies and gentlemen, we've just completed a new research on the impact of climate change and related disasters on persons with disabilities. We'll soon table this to Cabinet, and the research makes recommendations for consideration and for implementation. And therefore, this is the work that we are doing. So we don't want to depend on what we thumbsuck. We want everything that we do to be dependent on scientific findings. And of course here, working with the doctor as a premier, surely he is conscious of the fact that everything we do must be based on research findings. So we're not far away from yourself, Comrade Premier. Program Director, as we launch Disability Rights Awareness Month, we must do so knowing that there is intentionality in our actions. This is not a ceremonial act. There is deliberateness in what we have set out to do and in how we have structured the focus of each week. Week 1, which is starting today, we will be looking into disability inclusive jobs and enterprise. Week 2, we will be focusing on inclusive education and skills, safety and gender-based violence through disability lens. And in the 3rd week and in the 4th week, we'll be looking at accessibility and accountability. This is how we translate commitment into coordinated delivery across society. We expect all departments to say, what is it that we are doing for persons with disabilities? Whilst we appreciate that departments may say, we're taking our persons with disabilities out for lunch or dinner, whatever, but as a matter of fact, that is not all that we want. We would wish departments to sit together in their expos and say, from now going forward, what is it that we must do in terms of the priorities of the white paper of South Africa? We expect that to look at these priorities that we spoke about, the 9 of them, and to say how far are we in the implementation of the white paper in our departments. Honorable Premier, recently I conducted a follow-up oversight visit to Matatiele to access progress on several gender-based violence and femicide cases in the area. Among the survivors I met was a woman who had lost her arm in an attack. She said to me, in fact, the report we received from social development was to say we have given her a grant. And she said to me, Minister, as a matter of fact, I don't want a grant. I want support to start my business because working for someone may now be difficult for me. That is what she said. So whilst we appreciate the disability grant, but disability is not equivalent to a grant. Young people with disabilities, they too want to contribute actively in the growing of South Africa's economy. They want to be employed. They want to be entrepreneurs. They want to be given the support. They too want to be assisted and be supported with finance, with technology, with training, and with market. They want that because they are capable of doing it. As a matter of fact, ever since I joined this department, I've learned to appreciate one thing, that it is us who create disability. It is us who therefore can remove disability by removing barriers. This is what this month is about. It's about taking time to reflect. It's about taking time as cabinet to sit together and have just one item and one item only, disability inclusion, and dissect it and say, what does it mean to us as government? It's about these big companies in South Africa. It's about these big banks in South Africa that continue. I've met quite a number of them. All of them, they say, we have projects and programs for disability. And we ask the question to say, but why are you doing it? Because we can't see it in our communities. We're going to invite them, we have agreed. We're going to invite them and we're going to invite you, MEC, to join us so that we actually hold them to account and they give us information on where they actually are supporting persons with disabilities. What we are happy about is that we have managed to put this agenda on the table. When people give report today, even in writing, they now do not forget to include persons with disabilities. That is not exciting us. What we want now is what you are doing in terms of that sentence that you have included and the impact of what you are doing in the community of our persons with disabilities. And therefore, from this C factory in Kimberley, let us carry the message forward that inclusion is not charity, as it has been said, it is justice. And justice must not only be promised, it must be practiced, it must be measured, and it must be delivered. It is true that nothing without persons with disabilities, nothing without us, and in fact nothing about us without us. It is a mantra that we must all uphold. They are not umthwalo. They are not. They are persons with disabilities and persons and South Africans. Women who give birth to children with disabilities, they are ridiculed, but they cannot be ridiculed by their government. So we have got to include them. It's important that we ensure that persons with disabilities are included. So disability inclusion, no one, there shall be no speech that gets concluded without something that talks to persons with disability and disability inclusion during this DRAM. So wherever we speak, we must say, whether we are in our churches, associations, wherever, this is the time where we elevate disability and disability inclusion. With those, I don't know whether to say a few words. With those profound words, yes, with those profound words, it gives me great pleasure and privilege to declare the 2025 Disability Rights Awareness Month officially launched in the Northern Cape province. I thank you very much.
Halala di minister, halala. Halala di minister, halala. Halala DRAM 2025, halala. Baie dankie minister vir u inspirerende boodskap wat u vandag met ons kom deel het in die Noord-Kaap. Ook dankie vir die premier dat ons die enigste provinsie is wat 'n MEC het vir jeugdiges, vrouens en mense met gestremdhede. Baie dankie. Nou ons sal net gou die premier se koor weer vra om vir ons item te kom lewer. En dan sal ons na die koor gesing het, sal ons die waarnemende speaker van die Solplaatjie munisipaliteit vra om vir ons die bedankings te kom doen. So die koor van die premier kan julle vir ons asseblief na vore kom en vir ons weer so lekker kom sing. Baie dankie. Halala die koor van die premier, halala. Halala die koor van die premier, halala.
Laat ons vir die koor 'n lekker hande klap gee, man. Ja. Ek het nog saam met die CEO gepraat, nee. Hy sê hulle sal vir die koor 'n mooi uniform doen nie. En hulle sê die koor sal 'n mooi uniform kry voor die einde van die maand. Laat ons nog voor die CEO en lekker aan het laat geven. So as ons weer die koor sien, die koor sal mooi uniform hê. Hulle sal baie mooi lyk, nee. Okay, baie dankie.
om vir ons dankie te kom sê en na die speaker klaar gepraat het, sal daar 'n announcement is en na die announcement gaan die koor weer vir ons so 4 gee. Baie dankie.
Halala, Northern Cape, halala. Halala, Kimberley, halala. Thank you very much, Program Director. My responsibilities, if I hear correctly, is to think. And before I think, let me acknowledge the protocol observed. It is a privilege to stand before you. And firstly, I want to thank members of this organization for this initiative. It's not just an initiative, but it's an eye mark of the Northern Cape that today, with God's grace, all the stakeholders that have stood here, the premier of this province and the minister, I brought an idea that not only social life examples, but the will of God when you look after the disabled people. I want to thank the children, school kids, those with disability. And if it wasn't because of you, this program was never going to be a program on air. I want to thank the choir, the premier choir. It's always, you know, when always you do something good, God is always there. Thank you so much for beautiful ladies and gentlemen. Oh, it's too much ladies. I didn't nearly see. We are going to join the choir. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. And I ask you not to perform for only the disabled organizations. Now, the entire Northern Cape. Wherever the premier goes, go with the premier and perform. Thank you. Let me thank all the stakeholders that have been staying together with us here. From SAPS, the labor, and all other stakeholders that are with us here. You know, whenever you do something, if it is out of teamwork, you achieve the best of all. Thank you for all the stakeholders. Let me thank all the MECs who are here, who are our leaders, and the people that are not sleeping. Because whenever there is a problem in any type of life, there is an MEC who's being called, and that MEC takes all those problems and run left, right, center. Thank you for being mothers and fathers of our society. Let me thank the mayor of Soplike in absentia. And as much of this over, let me thank myself as the acting speaker of Soplike. Councillor Kasper Ramutle. We love you, all the people with disability. You know what I've discovered today is, God said, I've created each and every person in my image. And I can say it once more again, if it wasn't because of you, this program was never going to be here. Let me thank the members from the Premier's office who made this event such a very special and prosperous event. Members of Francis Bard, members of the Soplike municipality, the minister, Mrs. Chikunga. Minister, I was asking my fellow councillor, he's a councillor of Bloemfontein. There's a lot of Chikungas. I say, we are blessed. The minister is from our place. Thank you, my mother. We love you and we welcome you. Thank you for being here. She's coming back home. Councillor Banda, you must bring the minister every day. Thank you very much, Mrs. Chikunga, for the words of progress and the words of awareness, and Northern Cape is blessed. Northern Cape is definitely blessed today. If what is said here is going to happen, I can guarantee you, Premier, I want to believe this organization is definitely not going to employ only disabled people. It's going to run short of manpower, and it's going to employ a lot of people with the potential that is here. Allow me to thank His Excellence, Father, brother of this province, His Excellence, Honorable Dr. Premier Zamani Saul, a hard-working Premier, a hard-grounded Premier. You know, I want to tell you a story about the Premier of Northern Cape. If you talk about selfless, if you talk about humbleness, he showed and he proved it to me. There was a time when we had elections. He was on the ground. I wasn't there. But I saw him on the news, I saw him on Facebook doing washing for an old lady in Bloemfontein. For a Premier. God bless His Excellency Premier Zamani. Not everyone can do that. Not everyone can do that. Premier, you always do fantastic. That teaches us. Daai hoogmoedig councillors, daai hoogmoedig VV, we bring us to the selfless motive. Thank you so much, Mr. Zamani. Lastly, let me thank His Almighty God for giving us this opportunity, the strength to come to this event and have this initiative progress. With that, I thank all of you. Thank you. Thank you, and thank you so much.